what year after year and cigarette after cigarette had done. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I quit. Took him a whole pack, brand new pack. Took him, threw him out the window, and I don't litter. But that's it. I'm done. I quit. It's going to kill me. It's going to be cancer. But I don't have to make it sooner than it needs to be. He was shocked, and he says, I really hope you mean that,
Mom. Let's get back to your girl Aunt BZ, Thin Bad, and the Chief.
All right, we are back, people. This is Thin Bad, and we are back. I'm back with Ambezy and Chief. And if you're just joining us, we're with Miss Wavitra Jordan from Exit Landmark Realty. And we are back, and we're talking about buying homes. And, that's a huge part of what's come to be known as the American dream. It's not the only part, as Ambezy pointed out, but it is a big part. It's one of the largest purchases that you'll make. And there are many financing options, and then there are many models. But tonight we're trying to get some information to help some folks out. And so Wavitra, what is it that can we talk about the closing costs? Closing costs is a big thing. Once folks get to that point, they break their neck to get to the closing date, and then sometimes deals fall through at the last minute because folks aren't really prepared or aren't as prepared as they thought they were or thought they could handle something themselves. So if you could you kind of walk us through what's the closing process all about when you're purchasing a new home?
Okay, yeah. So 2 parts. So I want you all to look at it in like 2 columns. The first column is your down payment. It is your straight required skin in the game. So if you're in a 3.5%, you have a 3.5% down payment. It's 3.5% of the sale price. That's what most people are in. FHA loans, that is 3.5% down payment. That's your down payment. That's one column. On the other side are your closing costs. Your closing costs include your title costs, your lenders, the cost for your loan. It includes taxes. It includes interest. It includes interest on the home that you, as a buyer, are required to pay up to the date of settlement. At the date of settlement, it includes any HOA charges. If there's a homeowners association that is in the community that you're buying a home, there's a setup fee for that. So your closing cost is everything else, and it is about 5 to 6% of the sale price of the house. And in our market, we usually try to ask the seller, well, at least I do. I ask the seller for 3%. If the loan allows more, I'll ask for more. But typically, most of my clients, we put in offers asking for about 3% of the sale price of the sale prices for the seller to help us with that. So that means you have 2 to 3% on your own to have to come up with on that. And that's a really good point because a lot of your loans say that they're 100% financed, right? However, that's 100% of your down payment and doesn't necessarily include the closing costs. So you really have to make sure that you still have some funds saved up, even for those 100% loans, because you do have closing costs.
Yeah, that's big. And I know that with the proliferation of everything's on the internet, and like you said, Google can be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Yes.
And so I guess it's something like this. You don't want to you don't want to leave in the hands of uh, what she said and what they said and what mom and them did and how it used to be. You gotta know, and if you don't know, you gotta know that you don't know, and get with a professional and make sure that you are having all your I's dotted and T's crossed.
Yes, you do. And one of the things that you want to ask your lender is, can you give me an estimated cash to close? Your estimated cash to close means how much I'm going to have to bring to the table at settlement between my down payment and my closing costs. If you only ask for down payment, you're only going to get down payment. You want to ask for cash to close. That's when both of those columns come together, and it becomes what you have to bring to the table. Okay?
Okay. Folks, you're hearing that out there? You're hearing that while you're in the market? What is there a better time to buy a house, or is it just when you got all your stuff ready? I mean,
you know what? When you got all your stuff ready, honestly,
right.
It's always a good time to buy real estate. Real estate is the fastest way to build wealth, and we need to be in the game. And you really need to make sure that you are able that you get in as soon as you can, as soon as you get your ducks lined up. And if you're not sure, have a strategy session. That's okay. It costs you nothing. It doesn't cost you anything to have a strategy session and sit down and talk it through. Nobody's judging you. It's total no judgment zone, because we all want everybody to build wealth. It is important to the home team of Exit Landmark Realty, me personally, to make sure that people are able to do this. I bought my first home when I was 22, and my mortgage was $750.
Wow.
And I didn't know how I was going to make it, because I was only making $16,000 a year. But you know what? It comes together.
Yes, it does.
Totally comes together. And that math, you can't. I've had clients say, okay, well, I only have $45 after all this is done. And I'm like, trust the process. Trust God, because at the end of the day, if this is the door he opened for you, the provision has already been made. Now, they in their house. They've been on 5 vacations. My daughter swore she wasn't going to have no food in the house. And they're just there enjoying their process.
But they have a roof over their head.
Home.
Who needs food?
And as my daughter says, I feel like a real adult now. And you really do. It's a whole different feeling. And everyone can do it. It is totally possible.
Wow. Well, Vida, let me ask you a couple of questions about some of the various types of loans that are available. And, of course, the one that we hear about all the time is the interest-only loan. Can you kind of talk about what the interest-only loan is? Is there an advantage to it? Do you have to put down the same amount of money? And is that a good thing for let's stick it with the first-time buyer? Is that a good option for that person?
Absolutely not. It's probably one of the most dangerous loans that you're going to get into.
Why?
And in the interest-only loan, because here's what happens. So you get into you get a 30-year mortgage, and you're saying, I'm only going to pay interest. I'm going to do just interest only until you are ready to pay off that home. Let's just say you stay in there for 30 years, right? You stay in this home for 30 years, and then you go to pay it off, and you have paid none of the principal. So you have this huge balloon payment at the end, and people get in a lot of trouble with that. So these loans were primarily made for people that have money in hand, right? And they're only going to plan on owning the home for a short period of time. So your investors, this is good for investors, for fix and flip. If you're not going to keep the property, then that's a good loan for you. But if not, it gets people. And then even then, if something happens with that fix or flip, or a partner falls out, if you have capital partners in it, you're stuck with this loan, and then you can't get out of it. It's a big deal. So you really want to be careful with this particular loan, and it's attractive. And the reason it's attractive is because you're only paying interest, so the payment is super low. But you remember, you still have this big monster of a 30-year payment that you haven't touched in 5 years, in 10 years, and that's going to come due. For the
layman person, let's again go back to that $300,000 scenario. So I buy my $300,000 home, and I'll go interest only on it. So I've been paying the interest for the last 28 years. And so conceivably, then what you're saying is, at that 30-year mark, if I wanted to consider paying it off, I'd still owe about $300,000.
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct.
Wow.
Because your base loan is your base loan. So if you go into a $300,000 house and you put 3.5% down, right? You're financing 97% of that loan, or 96.5% of that loan. You still owe that. That's your base. That's your principal. That's your base loan.
Wow. So now, what's the difference between the interest-only loan and the jumbo loan? Then I'm going to turn it back over to Thin Bad.
Okay. So the jumbo loan is for anything over $750,000. And the jumbo loan comes in a fixed rate, so you can do just a straight 30-year fixed rate. And it also comes in a adjustable rate mortgage. So that means that your mortgage adjusts, whether it's every 5 years or every 7 years. And so it is, but it really is for anything over $750,000.
So does jumbo just mean the size of the loan, and there's not some big jumbo thing that's going to happen at the end? Is that what we're hearing?
That's correct, yes. So, yeah, it means the size of the loan. Okay. Anything over $750,000.
Anything over $750,000. And you mentioned the ARM loan as well. What does that do? I'm sorry, Thin Bad. I just had to ask that quick follow-up.
No, you go right ahead.
So an adjustable ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. And, I mean, they're pretty popular. I mean, I think we were in one because you can get sometimes lower interest rates. So a lot of people, as a matter of fact, had a client today who was like, well, I see, I'm looking on I searched the internet, and they're showing rates in the low to mid threes. And so, but when you start uncovering it, peeling it back, it's an adjustable rate mortgage, which means for the first 5 years it's fixed, and then it goes up. After that, it can go up to whatever the next rate is, another 1% or 2%, and then it's capped, but your rate never stays the same after that. So many times people go into an adjustable rate mortgage at the very beginning, and then they refinance out of that before that 5 years is up. That's what we did. But you have to make sure that your credit profile stays in position to refinance out of that. If not, you're going to be looking at a much higher mortgage than you started with. So for first-time home buyers, your fixed rates are generally best for you. We got into an ARM with our second house, not our first.
Okay. I had to give up an arm and a leg.
You got to give up an arm and a leg, and we need you to keep all your digits.
You got that right. I'm going to need my digits. I can't count that high. Good Lord.
You need all of them. There's two other programs that I did want to talk about for people.
Sure.
Well, the student loan repayment program. The student loan program is it's the Smart Buy 2.0. It's in Maryland, and that will pay off up to $40,000 of student loan debt, but it has to pay off all your student loan debt. We just closed one for a client. She paid off $37,000 in student loan. The day you close on your house, you go to settlement, you make no more student loan payments. And if you stay in your house for 5 years, it's forgivable. So it totally goes away.